I was their tennis coach for 3 years. I taught Erik his backhand, watched Lyle win tournaments, had dinner at their mansion dozens of times. On August 20th, 1989, I got a call at 2 a.m. Erik was crying so hard I could barely understand him. He said, "Coach, someone killed my parents." But his hands had powder burns. "My name is Robert Sullivan. I'm from Calabasas, California, where I was. I live in Arizona now. Back in the late 80s, I was a tennis coach at a private club in Beverly Hills. That's where I met the Menendez family. I was 28 years old, trying to make it as a professional coach, working with rich kids whose parents paid me $200 an hour to fix their serves. It was good money, and the Menendez boys were 2 of my best students. Erik was sweet, quiet, a little insecure. Lyle was confident, aggressive, the kind of kid who always had to win. Their father, Jose, was intense, former entertainment executive, self-made millionaire, the kind of man who didn't accept failure. Their mother, Kitty, was elegant, but there was something sad about her, something tired. I thought I knew them. I thought I understood that family. I was wrong. The first time I went to their house, I couldn't believe it. 722 North Elm Drive, Beverly Hills. A massive Mediterranean-style mansion, tennis court in the back, fountains, marble everywhere. It looked like something out of a magazine. Jose answered the door himself. Firm handshake, direct eye contact. "Robert, good to meet you. The boys need discipline. I expect results." "Yes, sir. And don't go easy on them. Especially Lyle. He thinks he's better than he is." I nodded. I was used to demanding parents. But there was something about the way he said it. Something cold, almost cruel. Like he wanted me to break them. The first few months were normal. I'd come 3 times a week, work with the boys for 2 hours, sometimes stay for dinner. Kitty would cook, or supervise the cook, really, and we'd all sit together in their enormous dining room. Jose would interrogate the boys. "What did you work on today? Why did you lose that point? Are you focused?" Erik would shrink in his chair. Lyle would get defensive, argue back. Jose would shut him down with a look. Kitty would drink wine. A lot of wine. One night, after dinner, Erik walked me to my car. He was maybe 17, still had that baby face. "Coach, can I ask you something?" "Sure, Erik. Do you think I'm good enough? Like, to go pro?" I was honest with him. "You're talented, Erik. But pro level? That's a different game. You'd have to want it more than anything." He nodded slowly. "My dad wants it. He wants me to be the best." "What do you want?" He looked at me, and for a second, I saw something in his eyes, something like fear. "I don't know," he said quietly. "I don't think it matters." I didn't know what to say, so I just patted him on the shoulder and left. By the summer of 1989, things started to feel off. Lyle had dropped out of Princeton. Some kind of scandal. I never got the full story. He was back home, and the tension in that house was suffocating. Jose was furious, constantly berating him, calling him a failure, a disappointment. Erik was struggling too. He'd graduated high school, but didn't seem to know what to do next. He was anxious all the time, jumpy, distracted during lessons. One afternoon in July, I was working with Erik on his serve. He kept missing, shanking balls into the net. He was shaking. "Erik, what's going on? You okay?" He didn't answer, just shook his head. "You want to take a break?" "No, I just need to focus." But he couldn't. He kept messing up, getting more and more frustrated, until finally he threw his racket and sat down on the court, head in his hands. I sat next to him. "Talk to me, kid." He was quiet for a long time. Then, almost in a whisper, "Have you ever felt like you can't escape something? Like no matter what you do, it's always there?" "What do you mean?" He looked at me, and his eyes were wet. "Nothing. Never mind. I'm just tired. I should have pushed. I should have asked more. But I didn't. I just told him to go inside, get some rest, and we'd pick it up next time. That was early August. 2 weeks later, Kitty called me. She sounded drunk. "Robert, I need to ask you something." "Okay, Kitty. What's up? Do you think the boys are okay? Do they seem normal to you?" I didn't know how to answer. "I mean, they're stressed. Lyle's dealing with the Princeton thing. Erik's figuring out his future." "No, I mean, do they seem scared?" I felt a chill. Scared of what? She was quiet. I could hear her breathing, uneven, shallow. "Nothing. Forget I said anything. I've had too much wine." She hung up. I tried calling back. She didn't answer. On August 19th, I had a lesson scheduled with Erik. He canceled last minute. Said he wasn't feeling well. I didn't think much of it. Rich kids canceled all the time. But then, just after midnight, technically August 20th, my phone rang. I was asleep. I fumbled for the receiver, groggy, annoyed. "Hello, Coach." It was Erik. His voice was shaking, broken, barely coherent. "Erik, what's wrong? What time is it?" "Coach, something happened. Something terrible." I sat up, suddenly wide awake. "Erik, what's going on?" "My parents, they're dead. Someone killed them." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. "What? What are you talking about?" "We came home, and there was blood everywhere, Coach. Everywhere." "Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm at the house. The police are here." Lyle is. The line cut out. I jumped out of bed, threw on clothes, and drove to Beverly Hills. It was maybe 1:30 a.m. by the time I got there. The street was blocked off, police cars, ambulances, news vans already starting to gather. I talked my way past a cop, told him I was the boys' coach, that Erik had called me. He let me through. The house was lit up like a crime scene on TV. There was police tape, officers going in and out, cameras flashing inside. I saw Erik sitting on the front steps, wrapped in a blanket. Lyle was next to him, talking to a detective. They both looked destroyed, faces pale, eyes red, covered in what I assumed was shock. I walked over. Erik saw me and stood up, stumbled toward me, and I caught him. He was trembling, sobbing into my shoulder. I can't believe it, Coach. I can't." I held him. I didn't know what else to do. Lyle was calmer, more composed. Too composed, I remember thinking. He was answering questions, describing what happened. How they'd gone to a movie, come home, found their parents shot to death in the living room. "We thought it was a mob hit," Lyle said. "My dad had enemies. Business enemies." The detective nodded, taking notes. But something felt wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something about the way Lyle was talking, so controlled, so detailed. It didn't match the horror of what had happened. And Erik wasn't just sad. He was terrified. I stayed with them until the sun came up. The police let them leave eventually, and I drove them to a hotel. They didn't want to go back to the house. In the car, neither of them spoke. Erik stared out the window. Lyle stared straight ahead. I tried to say something comforting, something about how they'd get through this, how they had people who cared about them. Lyle turned to me and said very quietly, "You don't know what it was like, Coach. You don't know what he did to us." I didn't understand. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer, just turned back to the window. The next few months were a blur. The police investigated. The media went insane. There were theories, mafia hit, business rivals, robbery gone wrong. But the boys started acting strange. They went on a spending spree. Bought cars, Rolex watches, restaurants, trips to Europe. I saw Erik once during that time, and he was wearing a leather jacket that probably cost $10,000. "Erik, what are you doing?" I asked him. "Living, Coach. For the first time in my life, I'm living." But he didn't look free. He looked haunted. In March of 1990, they were arrested. Both of them, charged with first-degree murder. I couldn't believe it. I refused to believe it. But then the evidence came out. The confession tapes. The testimony from Erik's therapist. They'd bought shotguns. They'd planned it. They'd waited until their parents were watching TV, walked into the living room, and opened fire. Jose was shot 6 times. Kitty was shot 10. They reloaded. And the reason they gave was abuse. Years of it. Sexual, physical, psychological. Erik said their father had been molesting him since he was 6 years old. Lyle said the same. They said they were terrified, that they thought their parents were going to kill them to keep them quiet, that it was self-defense. The prosecution said it was greed. $14 million inheritance. Spoiled rich kids who wanted their parents' money. The trials dragged on for years. First trial ended in a hung jury. Second trial. In 1996, they were convicted. Life without parole. I watched every day of it. And I kept thinking about that night in July, when Erik asked me if I'd ever felt like I couldn't escape something. I kept thinking about Kitty's phone call, asking me if the boys seemed scared. I kept thinking about Lyle's words in the car. You don't know what he did to us. And I realized I didn't know them at all. Erik and Lyle Menendez are still in prison. They're in their 50s now. They'll never get out. I haven't spoken to them since the trial. I don't know if I'd even know what to say. Were they victims? Were they murderers? Were they both? I've spent 30 years trying to answer that question, and I still don't know. What I do know is this: that family was a lie. The mansion, the tennis lessons, the perfect dinners, it was all a facade. And underneath it, there was something rotten. Something so dark and twisted that 2 boys felt like the only way out was murder. I think about Erik sometimes. I think about the way he used to look at his father, not with love, not with respect, but with something else. Something that looked like terror. I think about the way Kitty drank, the way she asked me if the boys were scared, like she knew something was coming but couldn't stop it. I think about Jose, the way he demanded perfection, the way he controlled every part of their lives. And I think about that night, August 20th, 1989, when Erik called me, crying, saying someone had killed his parents. Someone. Not him. Not Lyle. Someone. I don't think he was lying exactly. I think in that moment, he didn't recognize himself. I think the person who pulled that trigger wasn't the Erik I knew. It was someone else. Someone who'd been beaten down and broken for so long that he finally snapped. Does that excuse it? Does that make it okay? I don't know. All I know is that I stood in that house dozens of times, ate dinner with that family, shook Jose's hand, listened to Kitty's stories, coached those boys, and I never saw it coming. None of us did. The house on Elm Drive is gone now. They tore it down years ago, built a new one in its place. But sometimes late at night I drive by. I don't know why. Maybe I'm looking for answers. Maybe I'm looking for some sign that I could have done something, said something, saved them. But there's nothing there. Just a house. Just a street. Just a memory of a family that never really existed. My name is Robert Sullivan. I was the Menendez brothers' tennis coach. And I'll never forget the sound of Erik's voice that night, shaking, broken, telling me his parents were dead. Because part of me wonders, was he asking for help? Or was he saying goodbye? Lyle and Erik Menendez were convicted of first-degree murder in 1996 and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. They remain incarcerated in California. The case continues to be one of the most controversial and debated trials in American legal history.